welcome back to my channel. I am your favorite mama of 3 bougie vintage, and today's video is a little different. So for the last, I'm gonna say 4 days, YouTube has been suggesting this video to me, and I've been avoiding the video because I was just like, okay, whoop-she-do, another YouTuber's marriage fell apart, welcome to the club, girl. That was my attitude, right? Because I was just like, YouTube, we all been through this already. We don't, you know, I'm just like, I'm not clicking. But the video was recommended, and I'm just saying, no. Okay, that's what I was giving. And so I kept scrolling past it. Never seen this girl in my life. And then I was scrolling on Instagram yesterday, and there the video is again stalking me. And I'm like, okay, let me see what's going on, because they posted a little clip, right, and caption and, you know, everything like that. And when I say I was flabbergasted, I was like, whoa, and beside myself, because it was not your typical YouTuber marriage fell apart situation. That's not what it was. It was far more crazy, far more disturbing, and as a mom, as a single mom, it hit me a little differently. And it in fact upset me. It was like, it upset me on the surface level of what the video was about, but when I, you know, really took into account all these other things, I just got even more upset and angry. And I'm just like, I can't, like, there's just too much happening. That being said, before I actually hop into this video, I do want to, one, address the people in this poor girl's comment section. Y'all are crazy as hell. That's number one. Y'all are disrespectful, disgusting, and like shifting the blame onto this young woman. And there's a way to comment your opinion, because again, it's this thing where once you put on the internet, baby, all gloves are off, right? Like, people are gonna say whatever, do whatever, right? We know that. But you do not have to comment what your thoughts and feelings are in a way that's going to hurt somebody that's, one, clearly going through postpartum right now. She literally just had another child. And two, somebody that's dealing with the situation that she's dealing with. You don't need to be in her comment section right now telling her that she's a terrible person, because that's not the situation. That being said, when somebody is going through any kind of traumatic situation, what you can do to help them is pray for them. What you can do to help them is say something nice to them. She didn't ask for this. No matter what you think, no matter how you spin it, she didn't ask to be in the situation that she's in. And that's the bottom line. She is not her husband or her ex-husband, soon to be ex-husband, whatever you want to call him. She's not him. What he does not reflect who she is. And they are two completely different people, clearly. So with that being said, let's jump into this video. The other day when I posted responding to y'all's comments, I was talking about how this stuff keeps happening, and once again, we are here. So if you're not a member, you would not have seen the video that I'm about to show you a tiny clip of. But 5 days ago, so one day before she posted her video, I posted a video to my members only, and it was titled, "Is this a safe space?" And it was pretty much giving early bougie days where I would have my sunglasses on and I was ranting, okay? But this time, no sunglasses, no cuss words, and I was still ranting. I was giving my unsolicited opinion about today's culture. And one of the things I brought up that grinds my gears was about high value man, high value woman, goddess energy, all this BS that's on the internet that is misleading the people straight into the pits of hell, period. And so I made a video about this. 5 days, this is one day before the girl posted her video about her situation. 5 days ago, I posted this video, and you know, we're just having a key in the comments. And on the same topic, the high value, low value, great value man situation, child, I am tired. Like, I am so over it. I really am. And so people are so delusional. People have made up in their head what they think is high value man and high value woman. Baby, what are these terms? And even though I think the lady is hilarious, even Miss Sprinkle, like, people are acting like they're trying to put you on game to stuff, but it's like what worked for you is not necessarily going to work for the next person. Fast forward to the next day, I'm getting suggested this video. Now, what struck me about the video that YouTube was suggesting me was the amount of views it had in the short amount of time. But it's a story time. That's what's gonna garner the views, obviously. So when I see the video and I see the girl's emotional and she's in her robe and she's talking about her marriage, I look at the view count and I look that she just posted it one day ago, and I'm like, oh my god, that's a lot of views for one day. So then I go to her page to see her other videos, and I noticed that she only has like 5,000 views on a video. So I said, oh god, like this is serious. But I still didn't watch the video. So the next day, YouTube still suggested me the video because they know I didn't watch it. The view count has like doubled. And I look at her subscriber count and I'm like, she has more views on the video than subscriber count. And it's been probably less than 48 hours, right? And so I'm intrigued, but I still don't watch the video. And then by the third day that YouTube is suggesting, the video has over 102,000 views. And I'm like, oh my god. The whole time I'm thinking that the video is about some cheating, lying bastard. No. Then fast forward to, I think, the third day. On the same day, I see her video being circulated now on an account that I follow on Instagram. Melanin Beauties Unite, I think it's called. And so at that point, I'm like, oh, I gotta watch the video. But it was late, which was yesterday. And I was like, I'm not watching that before I go to bed, because by the time I got on Instagram, I realized what the video was about because it said it. So I wait till this morning to watch her video while I was making my kids' lunches. I was just like, oh my god. And so once I watched the video, you guys can go and watch it yourself. I then went to her page to see what her other videos were, because a lot of the people that had been making comments on Instagram were talking about her lifestyle or the content that she puts out. And of course, bringing up somebody like Shira7. That was kind of the model that she followed where Shira's concerned. And so I decided to do a little bit of a deep dive and see what she's been putting out, because when I was ranting in the video 5 days ago, which I actually had filmed that video on Tuesday, once I had filmed that video, I was literally going off on this topic because it's utter horse dung, period. Like, horse dung. And the people are eating up this content. I stay far from any channel that is trying to talk to me about anything of that nature. It's just not something that's going to be on my algorithm. You know what's going to be on my algorithm? Horses getting their hooves cleaned, sermons, good Lord Jesus Christ, okay, and like probably like content that's similar to mine. That's what I feel like my algorithm is a mess. And then like weird like true crime stuff, lots of true crime stuff. Like my algorithm is all over the place, okay, kind of like my channel. So I go and I'm doing my research on the girl because I'm just like, how does one land herself here? So when I go to her channel, the first thing I do is go over to her description. What is the channel about? And it says, welcome to the New Trophy Wife, which is the name of her channel, where I teach you how to become your own dream woman, practice hypergamy, and so we'll talk about hypergamy in a second, dating tips, level up your image, and more. This is a community for women looking to manifest the life, husband, and family of their dreams, and do it in style. If you are a like-minded lady and want to be a part of this growing community, then subscribe for more videos. First of all, I just want to say she seems like the sweetest girl in the world. She just got dealt a really crappy hand, but this is a part of the territory of manipulating the system, if you will, to find what you want, aka the laws of attraction that people tend to use, which I know a lot of Christians are like in there in that sector. You can't. I'm sorry. It's bordering witchcraft. I'm sorry. It is. Okay. And so if you are doing laws of attraction, but you are on the other hand talking about anything like Christian related or God fearing, but I want to attract this to my life, it's not the same as prayer and seeking God for what he has for you and his will for your life. It is not the same. And so that's kind of why or where you could possibly frig your whole life up with this laws of attraction thing. The other thing is you cannot look at somebody else's life and be like, I want that. That's coveting. And then also you cannot look at somebody's formula and copy it and think that your sauce is gonna be like theirs. Because Miss Shira, if you've seen any of her content, the blueprint for a lot of the new girls that are coming out and saying, I wanted the rich man, so I got the rich man, and blah blah blah, and this is the life I wanted. But nobody on the internet's gonna tell you the downsides to the lifestyle that they're living. Like, maybe hubby's not home all the time because he's over there in freaking St. Bart's with his floozy. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what the heck these people got going on behind closed doors. Point in case, okay? You don't know what's going on. To be fair, I never came on here and was acting like my life was perfect. So there was that of that, okay? That was never what the channel gave. I'm not really a good example to use in that regard, but I'm a good example to use in terms of I had a family dynamic and then I didn't, right? So that's how we could look at my situation, but it's obviously apples and oranges. So back to what I was saying about this situation. The Shira 7, Miss Sprinkle Sprinkle, she has, you know, laid it out for everybody, and everybody thinks that they're gonna follow her and get what she's got or get it how she got it, and they cannot, because just because it worked for her does not mean it's going to work for the next person. And that's what people are not getting or grasping. Just because her life turned out one way doesn't mean that your life is going to turn out the same way if you follow the exact same method of madness that she used to secure her baller or the lifestyle that she wanted for herself and her future children. And it doesn't mean you're gonna get the 20-year marriage. People don't tell you what goes into the 20-year marriage. They don't, right? And they can get online all they want and say, he do this, he do that, I'm finna leave. They're lying. They're not leaving the lifestyle. They just gonna get their lick back quietly and nobody's gonna say anything to them about it. Like, that's the reality of the situation. That's how people be moving. And I'm not saying that that's Shira, right? I'm just saying that people on the internet can pretend to be anyone that they want to be, and that's on period. Like, you don't know what the people are doing. I could be a hoarder. You guys would never know. How you gonna know? All you see is from here up. You never see in my house. Like, I could be a hoarder. And would you know, there could be stacks and stacks and stacks of boxes to my ceiling and dead cats on my floor behind this camera, and you would never know because I keep, this is where you guys get to see. And I get all dolled up and I do what I do, but I could literally be living a double life. Now, I'm not, but I love watching hoarders. Now, that's just to give an example of why the internet is not a real place, and we cannot look at things on the internet and think that they are as they seem. It's not glitz, it's not glamour. And I think over time we've started to see, you know, things crumble, things unravel, and things of that nature. When I went to her page and I read the description and I saw the word hypergamy, I was like, I know the word, I don't know what the hell hypergamy is, so let me Google it, okay? So much like you could be at home right now like, girl, what is hypergamy? Or you probably already Googled it while I was talking. But it is the action of marrying or forming a sexual relationship with a person of superior sociological or educational background. That's the actual definition. AI overview on Google says, hypergamy is the practice of marrying or dating someone who is of higher social status, sexual capital, what the hell does that even mean? Or financial wealth than oneself. It can also refer to the act of continually trying to replace a current partner with someone who is considered superior. Sounds like mental illness. It does. It really does. Like, I don't think people even fully understand the definition of the word before they're using it to describe what they're trying to attract. Because if this is what you're trying to attract for yourself, for your life, I can see why it would fall apart. Ain't no God in this, baby. You need God. Period. You didn't come here to go to church? Baby, you're going to church today. Now that we've got that out the way, let's talk about the video itself, and then I'm going to talk about the other things I saw on her channel that, as a mom, were just big red flags and like absolutely a no. I tried to gather as many details as I possibly could, and the first thing that I realized was that she had 2 children prior to getting with her husband. What's not clear to me still is how long they were married for, how long the relationship lasted for before they got married and before they started having children together. All of her kids are elementary and younger. 2 of them are girls. I don't know what the baby is. I don't know if the baby's a boy or a girl. And her 2 older sons are who she had before she got with her ex-husband. When she started talking and was saying that she just pretty much had the baby, and this is all happening within like the last month, because she said she left like before Halloween even hit, right? When she was saying these things and I realized there's a newborn baby there, my first thought is this woman is dealing with postpartum depression at the same time that all this stuff, her whole world is crashing down on her. That's number one. Number two, her oldest child, who is a boy, is 9. Her second oldest child is 6. Like I said, I don't know how old they were when she met her man, but the next child down from the 6-year-old is 4, who is a baby girl, and then the next child down from her, so she got 2 pandemic babies pretty much, is 2, and then the baby is like a month old. And so I'm sat there like, oh my god, this girl went from being a single mom of 2 to married in a very short amount of time, because I watched that video as well, and then went on to have 3 more children for a person that ended up being a monster. And so if you haven't watched the video yet, then trigger warning, because the reason that the man is a monster is because the 4-year-old and the 2-year-old were discovered to have been by their father. And at first, when she was telling the story, I couldn't really identify whether or not girl children belonged to him. It wasn't clear to me at first. And I had actually seen that online, that they weren't his kids. But then when I listened to her speak, I realized, okay, they are his children. 2 little girls, traumatized for life, because the body does not forget. This mother, traumatized for life. She goes into a lot of details in that video about she is a product of, right? Her mom was, and that's how she came to be about. You know, she was really misled when it came to this man. And so you can watch that video, and you can watch the video on how she was married within a week's time, which is a big red flag. I think when you are a single mother, society has conditioned us to think we're undesirable because we already have kids. Like, I got 3 kids, who the hell gonna want me, right? Absolutely freaking not. We are targets. Like, what? Targets. And I think it also depends on what part of the world you're in, because in the country that I live in now, don't nobody give a damn that I got 3 kids, okay? They is trying to be stepdaddy, and I'm like, no. So it depends on what country you're in, really, or where you are in the world, where men will care or not care if you have children or not. However, as a single mother, when I was becoming a single mother, and even before then, like while I was still married, my mindset was always, if my marriage should dissolve, I will not date again until my kids are adults, or at least heading into that adulthood, because I refuse to bring anybody around my small children. I am a girl mom. I have only girls. And it's not to say this stuff doesn't happen to the boys, because in my personal humble opinion, I think that she should be asking her boy children if the father has ever done anything to them, right? Because maybe the boys don't want to say. That is something that she needs to iron out with her boy children. But as a single mother, it's so important to not force the issue of dating. If you are somebody that pays attention to other people's lives, or you covet other people's things, or like you look at, you know, people like her or anybody else that lives a certain lifestyle, and that's the lifestyle you want, and you're like, how did she get it? I'm gonna do that as well. Baby, you don't know what is on the other side of that. You cannot think just because a man has money or status or this or that, that he is going to be a decent person. These are all things that can be used to attract you to them when they have ulterior motives. I don't know if he had children before her, but it looks like he didn't. And so, like, he used her to bring children into the world that he was going to harm, which is crazy to me. Like, I can't wrap my head around it. So it's not even a case where it's like she had girl children before, and maybe if she had those girl children before, she would have been more, you know, cautious of it, because typically you're not gonna think that somebody's gonna want to do that to your boy children, but it's happens. It does. The fact that this has happened is, 1, tragic, but 2, an eye-opener for not just her, but other women out there that are in her same position, or trying to manifest this certain life and high value man, because there's nothing high value about the man that she was with. But one of the things that really bothered me in her video was that she stated that as soon as they got married, there were red flags there, and you know, things changed a bit, but like instead of maybe addressing those things, she still got on camera and still came forth and said how to achieve this lifestyle, but it was all a facade, right? Because if you had these red flags and you noticed them and they were bothering you, why did you still get online and share how to achieve X, Y, and Z, but you knew that inside you weren't really happy? And so that's a very dangerous thing. And so this is what I'm saying, like, you have to really be like discerning what you're getting yourself into when you come across a video on the internet that's telling you how to get your man to buy you a damn Chanel bag or how to get a man to like you or fall in love with you when you're a single mother. There's just certain things that just should not be common on the internet, and they are. You've got to be really careful on the things that you're ingesting spiritually and mentally, and of course naturally. You cannot take everything that everybody says and try to apply it to your life. It's just not gonna pan. Once I got done watching that story time and I went over to her video, I wanted to see like her story on how she met the guy and blah 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 blah. Of course it was an online dating thing. Everything happened very quickly in terms of, you know, marriage. But another red flag that was there was that he might have been a player, because there was this whole thing about she needed somewhere to live because she had broken up with her man and she had her 2 kids, right? And so she asked if she could like couch surf essentially, which you might think that that's crazy because I did, but you know, you're gonna go where you can go. She did that, and he's like, well, if you're gonna live with me, then you have to be my wife. That was that. She goes out, you hear me? She went out and purchased a $300 ring. This is already like bad news bears. She tells him she purchased a ring. Meanwhile, he's still there on eHarmony changing his profile photo. So she sees it and she's pissed and was gonna cut him off. Probably right now she sat there like, damn, I wish that when I cut him off for that, it worked. But that's not what happened. So he comes with his excuses or whatever, and they end up together. And he buys her ring that day. That was kind of like, she forced the issue. This is what I mean by manipulating the space-time continuum to get what you want. So they end up together and they start their life. You know, they were married within a week's time of their engagement. That's the other red flag. And trust me, I understand as an established woman what I want in terms of who I want to date, if I want to date. I get it, because I've been telling y'all, listen, if you see me, the man gonna be rich, okay? But like, he's not coming around my kids. That is something that I just know without a shadow of a doubt I'm not gonna move the goalpost on, because when you go to therapy and you learn about boundary setting, life changes. One thing that I didn't hear in any of her content that I watched was what God's position was in her life, and also therapy. She didn't mention anything about that. She's probably going to be going to therapy now, but like, she didn't mention any kind of healing done in between relationships. So like, she left her ex and went straight into this marriage with this man, because of course the mindset of somebody that has low self-esteem is going to be, I'm undesirable because I got these 2 kids running behind me and they're both very young. The right man for you is not going to care about that. I'm telling you, he's not going to care. Okay? You're not supposed to have to force somebody to want to be with you because you have kids, when otherwise they wouldn't date you, because they don't date women that have children, right? And I'm gonna get into her other video that sent alarm bells ringing, girl, because I was just like, no ma'am, this is bad news bears all around. Only time that I kind of got a glimpse of how she views God was in the first video that I watched, which was the traumatic one, where she mentions that the man was a, you know, Christian man. And then there's another part of the video where she talks about how she like prayed to God that the things that have happened to her in her life and how she came about would never be her children's story. Those parts of the video, I can't speak for her, you know. I don't know if she is harboring resentment to God. God never sent her that man. He didn't send him because she manipulated the system, right, or the laws of attraction to secure that man, and she kind of forced a square peg in a round hole, so to speak. And so when your person is not sent from the Lord, because you didn't wait on the Lord to send you the person that you're supposed to be with, that is when all hell will break loose. Sometimes we think that somebody is God sent, right? Like if you end up with somebody by chance, okay, chance, and all hell breaks loose, then you know that that person wasn't sent from God but sent from the devil. But like if you manipulate the system, you don't know what that's going to come with. I talk about this all the time, how I've seen it happen with people that I actually know, where they've manipulated the system to get what they want out of life, and it has backfired tremendously. And you cannot do that. Like, you just can't do it. One way or another, it's going to fall apart. You have to really be careful when you're doing that, because like I said, the laws of attraction is not the will of God. So it's not going to pan. It might look all good and dandy for a while, but after that, baby, when it's time for it to go away, it's going to go away louder than it arrived and more painful than it arrived. With that said, that let me know that she believes in God and she's willing to pray to God, but for whatever reason, where the man was concerned, she didn't realize she's supposed to seek God for the right man for her, and so she went about it a different way, and now she's in this horrible position. I myself learned that the hard way too. I was not aware that you're supposed to pray for certain things. Like I didn't understand that. I only understand that now. Like when you get to that place that you're ready for something, whether it's a new job or a new person or, you know, whatever it is, you're supposed to seek God for that, and you're supposed to be praying to God about that and asking God who he has for you. And it might not look like what you expected to, but you just never know, right? You know, I think that's why people's wires get crossed where laws of attraction are concerned, because it's similar, okay? But that's the whole trick of the devil too. It's a very similar sound to prayer and manifesting what God has for you versus manifesting what they say the universe has for you. It's not the same, baby. Don't ever get it confused. I've said it once, I've said it again. The devil knows scripture. So, you know, you got to be careful. Right? That's why a pastor can be living a double life, because the devil knows scripture. He can get up on his pulpit. I was just watching a documentary of a pastor from, I think, Alabama or something like that, that murdered his wife, was engaged to another woman during Hurricane Katrina, which was 2 months before his wife passed away, and he's the one that shot his wife. That's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is, everybody loved this pastor. Everybody was praising this pastor. This man changed his last name, posed as a Marine person or somebody in the Marine for his fiance while he was still married, then changed his last name back to his original last name 6 days prior. He had all kinds of convictions for the most. But he was a pastor, hiding behind the word of God, acting like he's a man of God. People will pose behind the word of the Lord and act like they are prim and proper, and they just nasty. And so then people get this skewed image of God, right, because of religion and not because of relationship. And this is what I'm going to keep telling y'all: have your own relationship with God so that you understand who God is, because God already knows who you are, okay? So he will clock your T, and he'll clock your T and clock it again and clock it again. And every time you fall out of line, he will convict you, right? And he does that so that you don't end up in a situation or predicament where somebody else has to convict you, right? So that's just that on that. But like, I can see that she believes in God, but just didn't know to consult God the same way a lot of us don't know how to consult God for everything, versus just when we need something. See, that's when you don't have a relationship with God. When you have a relationship with God, you consult God for the little and the big. On period. the little and the big. Okay, am I supposed to go grocery shopping today, Lord? That's how your relationship with God is supposed to be. It's supposed to be constant. It's not supposed to be on and off and on and off. And I get it, sometimes it takes time to get to that place, but like if you're really looking to manifest things in your life, you have to be willing to step outside of your flesh to manifest what God has for you, and not what you think you want for you or what you need. In our minds, we think we need something, and God always has something better for us. And sometimes we will go outside of the will of God, and He will give us what we thought we wanted just so that we can see we never needed it, number one. And number two, if we had stayed on course, we wouldn't have delayed our promises. That's like the biggest takeaway I get from watching her content. But like the last video that I watched on her channel that I just could not watch was titled something about leveling up your kids. Good moms are sexy, something like that. And I said, leveling up your kids? What are we doing here? So I clicked it to see what was being said, and I was immediately like, I don't know what word to use to describe how I felt listening to her, because I think out of all the videos that I watched that were not the traumatic one, that one pissed me off the most. So let's get into it. Watching this video in particular let me know that internally she has got a lot of work to do. And I say that with love, right? Like she's got a lot of work to do internally, because as I listened to her speak and I listened to her give the reasonings for the things she was saying, I was only just shaking my head like she got the game backwards. I noticed that she in her mind thought that her self-esteem was low before, when she was dating these certain kinds of guys, and they, like, I guess her baby daddies from before, and that this guy that she was with now was like the mecca of men, right? And like just top tier, high value, but that couldn't have been further from the truth. She talked about a lot of different things in this video, but the reason that I was intrigued by the title was because why do your children need to be leveled up? What could she possibly be saying in this video? And of course I said, this don't sound like nothing but grooming to me. I said, no, this is not it. There were some things I agreed with in the video, I will say, because as a mom that is constantly doing schoolwork and sees in different areas that my children may struggle, I am 100,000% here for extra work, school related work, educational things. That's a given, but that you don't need somebody on a video to tell you that. When you was a mom and your kids get to that age, baby, you gonna know that you need to do what you need to do. But like a lot of the stuff she was talking about was superficial and surface level. I realized that she enjoys being complimented when she, you know, is out and about, because she mentioned how people always, you know, stop their family, you know, every time they go out, and they're like, oh, you have such a beautiful family, you have such a beautiful family, and blah blah blah. And she likes that stuff. That stuff is validating for her. And so it was at that point I realized that her self-esteem is still low. She's relying on compliments and validation from the outside world. She cares about how the outside world perceives her. Obviously, I'm not saying go to the store looking pop dung, but like if you look pop dung because you had a long week, then so be it. You don't have to walk outside of your house looking like $10 million every time. Are you trying to make yourself a target? Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, a lot of the stuff she was talking about was like making sure the kids' hair is combed and doing this and doing that, because if your kids look musty, if the kids are looking musty, a man is not going to want to deal with you if you have kids. And I'm like, who cares? That's the least of your worries. Like, really, like, who cares? Like, we're focused on the wrong things. And again, there was no God in that video. Like, leveling up your children would be teaching your children how to pray. Leveling up your children will be teaching your children how to read and write cursive. Hello. Leveling up your children has nothing to do with how they look on the outside, right? That's a natural, that's a given. Obviously, if your kid, your kid can't be in spaghetti stained shirt, right, and you're going out for the day, that doesn't make any sense. But there's a time and a place, you know. Kids are going to be kids regardless. So like, I'm not going to dress my kids to the nines, and I'm not gonna buy them Nike Dunks, and they come home and the Nike Dunks are brown when they were white when they left the house. Like, it's not happening. There's just certain things that do not matter, especially when your kids are so young. And so some of the things she was saying, I didn't like the tone because she talked about our community, sounded borderline, I'm not gonna say colorist because she obviously is fair skinned, right? But it sounded classist. She used the terms hoochie mama, and she talked about, you know, kids dressing like thugs and whatever. And I agree, okay, your kids shouldn't be wearing adult clothing, you know, like I don't even like my kids wearing crop tops outside of the house, like meow. At the end of the day, how your kid is dressed is irrelevant if the person that is abusing your children lives in your house and sleeps in your bed, right? So like, these are things that do not matter. Like, you have to shift your focus to what matters. Leveling up your kids so that a man finds you more attractive is crazy. I'm sorry, like, it's crazy. I don't need to be desired by anybody that has to even look twice at my kid to think of whether or not I'm a woman of integrity or a high value woman, whatever you want to call it. I don't need that man in my life if he has to look at every single person in my family to decide whether or not I am good enough for him. Not happening. Hell will freeze over before that happens. And this is why, as a single mother, it is so important to stick to your damn guns, right? And again, because she didn't have girl children prior to meeting this man, she probably was a little bit more relaxed. But now that she has girl children and has experienced this horrible, like, there's no word to describe what happened to her family. Now that that's happened, she will not date the same. I pray that she will not date the same, if at all. When you get traumatized in a relationship, it doesn't even have to be because of something so severe, right? But when you get traumatized in a certain way, you just look at the dating pool way differently. Like, that's my situation. I don't look at anybody how I would look at somebody when I was in my 20s. Like, these niggas ain't got nothing to offer me. I'm sorry, they don't. And I know 3 little girls how much of a target I am. It's on period. Like, there's no way around it. I have watched way too many crime shows where that is the situation. Every time I'm going to base it on the crime shows, because that's the world we live in. And it's important for me to be not only vigilant in that, but understand that I am not exempt from the evil of the world, right? Like, if you could meet somebody, he charming, and next thing you know, he's Ted Bundy or Dutty John, right? So like, you don't know. These men come at you charming, quick, fast, and in a hurry. But here's my thing. In her earlier videos, she has a photo, a wedding photo, and baby, I zoomed into it, and one look at him and I already knew what type of time he was on. He gave me creep immediately. Just based on his appearance, you could tell that's the kind of ish he was into. I was a little flabbergasted too when I was watching the first video, and instead of referring to him by name, because that's what I would be doing, okay, she didn't refer to him by name. She kept calling him her husband. And I get it, it's hard to like separate the two if it's really fresh, but like, no, if you hurt my kids, I can't call you that. And so, you know, I think that she needs to think about that, because ain't no way I could still be sat up there calling that man my husband. Like, no. Ex-husband at most, demon at best, and first and last name so that everybody knows who the hell the predator is what I would be doing. Now, why she shouldn't have made the video just yet, right, is because it's way too soon. And I learned in my situation that the videos are upsetting to the assailants. People don't like videos made about them. They do not, if it's not a nice video. The whole thing has always been, if you want somebody to speak nicely or highly of you, you will treat them nicely, and that's just it. But with her situation, because of how severe it is, my advice to her would not be to get on the World Wide Web 1 month after the incident and tell everybody about what your husband did to your children, because unless he's under the jail right now, I would not feel comfortable in, you know, stating such craziness, because she did indeed take her kids to the hospital, and at the time she only thought it was the 4-year-old, but got the rug ripped from under her, finding out that it was also her 2-year-old. And so there's things that, you know, are uncertain here, like how long was he doing it for? Is this a new thing that he was doing? Or, you know, has the 4-year-old always been experiencing this and the mom didn't take notice? You know, like what changed for it to be kind of blatant? When you get on the internet and you see somebody talking about a certain kind of way to attract a certain kind of thing, baby, scroll past. You don't know what portals and demons you're letting into your life by doing something that you ain't got no business doing. And so obviously, if you're not a believer, then you might take what I'm saying with a grain of salt or not take it at all. And like, you know, who do I think I am telling you what to do? You gonna get your rich man regardless. You ain't got no kids, so you ain't got nothing to worry about. Baby, it was gonna happen regardless. If she had no children and went with this man, he was still gonna be a pervert at the end of the day. It didn't matter that she had kids. It didn't matter if she don't have kids. It can happen to anybody. Nobody is exempt from life happening to them, right? Don't think it could never be you, because it can very well be you. Nobody ever thinks the bad thing is gonna happen to them. Why would you? That's pessimistic. You know, her situation is very unfortunate, and you know, all I can do is pray for her. I think that her story is a great example to a lot of things. I think it's a great example of, you know, being careful when you're dating. If you are dating as a single parent, boy mom, girl mom, don't matter. I think it's a good example of why you shouldn't covet. I think it's a good example of why you should not participate in the laws of attraction. I think it's a good example of why you should find deeper core values to identify if somebody is a high value person to be dating and creating a life with. You know, I think her situation is very, very vast in terms of the examples that she has, her story sets for other people. And I think it was very noble and courageous of her to come forth and say, this is what happened. You know, I'm still dealing with the issue. I don't know if I'll ever be okay. Probably not. And so that's my thing. The last thing that I want to add to this, because a lot of these situations happen and our first thought is to say what we would, shoulda, coulda, did in a situation if we were her. Okay, because listen here, a lot of situations are very much, you don't know what you would do until you were in the situation. Like you say, oh, if my man cheats, I'm leaving. Next thing you know, you're staying and working it out, right? You're like, oh, I'm not going to be Rashida. Next thing you know, you're Rashida. Oh, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And you keep moving your boundary post because you ain't been to therapy and you'll know nothing about setting a boundary and keeping the boundary. So because of that, that's why a lot of men and women get away with doing things that are unheard of, unfathomable in relationships, because we don't keep our boundaries what we said they were in the very beginning, right? Because we love the person, or, oh, it wasn't that bad. Baby, yes, it was. Okay, so that's the biggest problem. Now, to combat that, you have to stand 10 toes on your boundaries. If it were me and it were my children, I would be under the jail. See you after this bid. Period. Because one thing I don't play about are my kids. And I don't care. You could be like, oh my God, you should lose a mother. I don't care. You're not going to touch my kids with a 10-foot freaking pole and you still walking around breathing. Clock it. It's not happening. Baby, I would have planned that out so good and got me a little acquittal. Because what are you talking about? And so that's what I'm saying. It's so easy to say what we would do or wouldn't do in that situation. Baby, I'm seeing red. I know myself. That's my word to myself. If anybody ever hurt my kids in that way, I'm going under the jail. That crime is... What Kendrick say? Hide the Bible if God watch it. Okay, that is where I would be at with that. I'm sorry. Unless Jesus came down on a cloud that day and I was just not able to punch, girl, I will be under the jail. See you never. Because are you dumb? Like, that's my only qualms. Why she ain't make the video from the jail cell? Like, that's it. Because that's where I would be at if that happened to my children. And that's why I don't date. Because I know I would end up under the jail if somebody touched my kids, period. Under the freaking prison. You're not hearing me. But she just had a baby. So I understand her just wanting to get out of there, and kudos to her, because some people will ignore that. There's stories about that. People ignore that and like don't believe their kid right away. And I guess because I'm a mother first, I know that that's how the situation would end for me, especially in America. Oh baby, catch me at the nearest Walmart, getting them to catch me at the nearest Walmart, getting my license, or wherever you get the license from, and then I'm gonna go to the range. That's what's happening. But yeah, that's pretty much, you know, it for this video. I don't know that I fully shared my thoughts on like the whole leveling up your kids thing, but like neither here nor there at this point. I think she should remove all her other content and leave up, you know, the one where she is talking about her experience and grow from there. I don't think that the old content should stay up, and I don't think that people should, you know, obviously be like in her comments telling her her kids are never gonna forgive her and all kind of stuff. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I can't. In the comment section below, let me know if you guys heard about this and what your thoughts are as well. I love you all so much, and I will definitely see you in the next one.